Okay, good evening, players. Let's get started. Tonight we're going to talk about defending in the defensive third of the field. Remember that the defensive third is that portion of the field from the goal up to about the beginning of midfield. Most of the principles we're going to talk about tonight can apply to defending in all parts of the field, but when we get to the part where we're talking about team shape and player reactions and player movements, we're going to really focus on what we look like in the defensive third and how we get back into that shape in the defensive third. All right, and then we're going to talk about that in terms of individual defending, what we do as individual players. We'll talk about what we do in group defending in small numbers, and then we're going to talk about how we stitch all that together and what the team looks like as the team defends. So, why do we defend? Anybody? Raise your hand. Why do we defend? What is our objective when we are defending? Anybody? Go ahead, Sonnen.
To stop the other team from scoring.
Stop the opponent from scoring. That's great. Anybody else? I'm looking for maybe three more things. Go ahead, George. Got you.
Win possession back.
Win back possession. Excellent. Okay. Anything else? One more, maybe? I'm going to have to call on somebody then. Jake, why else might we defend?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer. They stole
Okay.
mine.
So here we go. All right. The first thing is we're going to try to prevent the opponent from playing forward. That's in any part of the field. We don't want them to advance toward the goal. Okay. Second reason we already had, I think that was our first one. Sonnen talked about it. We want to keep the opponent from scoring. Keep the ball out of the back of the net. And then after that, in order to get back on the attack, we need to regain possession. We can't score if we don't have the ball. So we need to get the ball back. And lastly, if we don't attack, we can't score. So this is the flip side of defending. We need to score. So all these things adding up to get back in possession, get back on the attack, and get toward goal. So again, we're going to start with individual skills in defending, right? There are 3 S's we can talk about when we talk about how we're going to apply pressure to the ball. Sprint, we slow down, we go side on, and then we go for the steal. Okay, we're going to talk about each one of these individually. So the first one is the sprint. Somebody talk to me about what the sprint means. What do we do when we're in that sprint part? Go ahead, Bruno. I see your hand. Go ahead.
The sprint is like if, let's just say, like the left winger or right winger or something, a striker is like running past you, so you can sprint to like catch up to them or to like speed up, so you can have like a closer, so you're closer to the defender. It's easier for you.
Try to get as close to the opponent as possible, as quickly as we can. Who does this? Who does this? Sinjin, go ahead. Who does this?
Like teams like that are pressing, like Liverpool, for example.
Okay. In a general sense of the game, of the 11 players on the field at any given moment, who does this first? Who sprints to the ball?
The striker.
Anybody else? Take that up a level, Sinjin. Who does it? George, go ahead.
Forwards.
I would say midfielders.
More general. Jake.
I think the closest person to the ball.
Bingo. The player closest to the ball applies the pressure, right? So, Jake, looking at our little diagram here, right? So tonight we're going to be the blue players, and the red players are the bad guys. They're the opponents. So we've got a blue player here. He's about to start applying pressure. He's going to sprint to the ball because he's the closest. Talk to me about those 3 lines. Why are there 3 lines between him and the ball? What are those 3 lines about? Go ahead, Luke.
Those are different ways that you can approach the player depending on what you're trying to do.
Right. So why would be a reason why we might take that left run and arc out there to the left? Why might we run out there instead of running directly at that player? Keep going, Luke.
Okay, so you're trying to either push them to one side or just like keep them focused or like keep the ball in an area of the field.
Okay, so we might try to start directing the opponent to a place on the field that we want them to go. What else might be a reason why you make one of those bending runs toward that opponent? Go ahead, St. John.
If you want to cut off like a pass.
Bingo, right. We want to cut off his options, right? So if there's a player, that's available for a pass on that left side, we want to get into that passing lane first and then run and apply that pressure to the opponent to take away that particular option. Okay, great. So we got the sprint down. Now, as we get close to the player, we slow down. What does this mean? Anybody? Anybody else? Oh, I'm gonna have to start calling on people. Go ahead, Jake.
My answer might not be correct, but we slow down so we can oh my God, my words. Okay. So like the opponent's gonna make some moves, right? And so we need to like slow down so we can react to them.
Exactly right. You got it, Jake. So everybody see those two lines, right? You see the opponent, he's got two options right here at this moment, right? He can go left or he can go right. If we're closing in there too fast and we can't slow down and get our run under control, it's possible that player can take a quick touch and play around us, and now the ball's behind us. We can't have that happening. So we slow down to try to evaluate very quickly in that half second, what is this guy trying to do? How do we get him to slow down, stop, and redirect, right? But we got to get our own body under control so that they don't blow right by us with a quick touch. Okay, everybody good on the slow down? Great, okay. Now, we slowed down, now we go side on. So who can explain what side on means? Go ahead, George.
Force them on their weak foot.
Great. We want to try to get them on their weak foot. So in this situation, George, right, we've got this player went side on to the right. What's he trying to do? Where does he want the opponent to play?
To the left.
To his left, to our right, right? Why does he want him over there? Why do you think he wants him over there at this moment?
Like force them outside because there's less people to interact with.
Right. He's taking away all his options. He doesn't have any teammates over there in that space. How much space does he have to play in? So, Gavin, go ahead and pipe up here, dude. How much space does the red player have to play if he plays to our right, if he plays toward the line? More or less space?
Probably more. I don't really know. I don't really understand this question though. Like,
Okay, so let me help you. So here's the touch line,
yeah,
right? And here's the opponent, and our teammate went side on to try to push that player to our right toward the line. Why would he perhaps want him to play into the line, into where this little gray box is? Why do we want him there?
so like, reduce like the what is the word I'm looking for?
You got it. Keep going. Yeah.
To reduce the the bat like this. I don't even know the word I'm looking for.
Reduce the space.
Yeah, exactly. Reduce the
There
space.
you go.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got it. You got it. So you want to reduce the space that player's playing in. This is what we mean when we say make them play small, right? We want them to be in the tiniest space we can get them into so that we can get in there and try to win the football, right? And we want to take him away from the rest of the team. So in this moment, right, we're going to have that player. We want him to play into the line. The line helps us. The line is like a second defender. He can't go over there. He can only go so far. Try to wedge them into that spot so that we can do this final part right here, which is go in for the tackle and try to actually get the ball back. So do we always have to end this with a steal? Anybody? Go ahead, Bruno.
Not always. Sometimes you can contain him and wait for him to make a mistake, like slide tackle.
Okay.
Like a
What,
stand
what would
tackle.
be Bruno, what would be another reason why we just want to contain him and delay that player?
Because if he's like in a fast break in like the center and we only have like 2 defenders and the guy it's like a 3v2, if
Right?
you slide tackle, the guy might somehow get away from your tackle and it'll be like a 3v1 and it'll be a disadvantage sometimes. So you have to be very careful with your tackle. 'Cause it
Okay.
can-
Enzo, if let's suppose you're the 6 or you're the center back, right? And you're in this moment right here. You've sprinted, you slowed down, you're starting to direct that player to the right. What would be a reason why I don't try to steal the ball right now if I'm not 100% sure I can go in and make that tackle?
Because he could do a move.
Right. He
Because
can beat us, right? What are we trying to trade time for, right? We're trading space for time here. So what is it if I hold that player up? Why am I holding him up? I mean, obviously we don't want them to go to goal, but what's happening while I'm holding that player up?
for our team
Griffin,
is
go ahead.
striker.
Got you. Go ahead, Griff.
You're containing him.
Right, but keep going. Why? What's happening while I'm doing that? What's
Your teammates or other defenders are coming to the ball also.
That's what I'm looking for right there, right? It gives us time to recover and get our shape, right? So that's why pressure to the ball is so critical. These 4 things, right? And why you have to make a good decision on when you actually go in to try to win the ball, because if you miss or you don't, do it exactly right, the team can't continue to come back and recover. We're still chasing after the ball. Right. So we got to make really good decisions as soccer players here on when we go in for the steal. Sometimes we need to go early right away. That player takes a bad touch, we're in there. That player plays slow, plays the ball away from us, we're in there. But there's other times when we're, hey, 1v1, I'm the last defender. I need to hold this player up. I can't afford to get beat. I'm just going to stay inside on and direct that player to a safer area while the rest of the team is recovering. So now that we've talked about why we might do those things, let's now move to how we defend as a group. Okay, so when we're defending as a group, defending as a unit, we're basically doing one of 3 things. We're applying pressure, we're the cover player, or we're the balance player. Okay? So who can tell me about the pressure player? Sinjin, you got it. Tell me about the pressure player.
He's like closest to the ball, presumably, and he's like shutting down the opposition, trying to like force them to make a mistake.
Right. Okay. First player to the ball, closest player to the ball. The pressure player's doing those 4 things we just talked about. They're sprinting in as quickly as they can to get pressure on the ball, slowing down for control, going side on to try to direct play in a direction that either helps them play smaller and or takes them toward a defender that can help us. And then perhaps we go in and try to win the ball back, tackle, and steal the ball. Right? So that's the pressure player. Now, someone tell me about the cover player. Aaron, you got it. What's the cover?
This player is going to be behind the pressure player, and they're going to be waiting so that if the pressure player gets beat, then they can come pressure.
Exactly right. Aaron, keep going now. If the pressure player gets beat and the cover player takes over and steps in, where's the pressure player go?
The pressure player should come back and cover.
Right. Pressure player becomes the cover player. Fantastic. So here's our cover player. So here's our pressure player here. He's applying pressure to the ball. Now you notice he's side on to the left. He's trying to take this opponent into the middle, right? Why might we want that player to go into the middle instead of wide? Let's go with Ezekiel. Are you on? Take a stab at this. Why might we be bringing this player inside instead of to the line? Nope. Okay, somebody else? Go ahead, Enzo.
Because our cover player is in the middle.
Right, our cover player's in the middle. That's where our help is. So imagine now we're all the way out on the wide, but the rest of the team, right, is to our left. The players that can help us win the ball back are probably in good positions here to the left. What part of the field are we in this diagram? Take a close look at it. Where are we?
In the midfield.
We're in the midfield, right? So hopefully we're doing the right things in the midfield, right? And we're covering all of those passing lanes, but also getting to places where cover players can come in and help us win the ball. So our pressure player has made a decision. Part of the match plan, I'm going to drive them to the middle. I'm going to get them to the center of the park. So he's side on to the left, driving that player to the right. Now, someone talk to me about where the cover player is in relation to the pressure player. What decision did that cover player have to make? Mateo, you got it. Come on, man. Talk to me. What got to decide?
Wait, what?
What's the cover player here got to decide? This fella right here. What decision did he have to make?
If you want to have more space or to like
Distance.
be closer.
So you talked about this distance. Talk to me about left and right.
Maybe like where to out.
So Mateo, if that player is playing that player
I don't really get the question.
inside, right? Which side of the pressure player does the cover player need to be on? If he's going to do his job and jump in and win the ball.
Oh, the left side.
The left, right? He's got to be on the left. So there's got to be great communication now, players, between the pressure player and the cover player on what we're doing. Because what's going to happen to us if the pressure player is trying to bring that player inside, but this player right here is hanging out over here on the right or right behind him on the line? What's going to happen? Lucas, go ahead and answer up. What's going to happen?
They can score a goal.
Yeah, that's a bad day, man. He's going to drive right here, and there's nobody to stop him because there's too much distance now. This is where we're trying to drive this player to go. So remember, good communication between the pressure player and the cover player. What is it we want this guy to do? We want to bring him right here. So this is the moment, right? If you know your cover player's right there, do we try to steal the ball? Well, maybe not. Maybe that pressure player puts enough pressure on him, make him take a bad touch or hit a bad pass so that cover player can just jump in and win the ball. It takes two players to win the ball. Everybody with me? Good? Good. Okay, fantastic. Now, let's talk about the balance players. All right. So everybody jump to the chat. Give me a 1, a 2, or a 3. Which player is the balance player in this diagram right here? Go to the chat. 1, 1, 1, 1. Everybody says 1. Okay. So Griff, tell me about what is the number 1's responsibility here? What's player 1's job?
Player 1 just like not contain, but like make sure that he like covers the other passes. I don't know.
Covers the other passes, right? So we really want that opponent over here. We really want him to stay in this defensive matchup. We want him to stay in that 2v1. So the balance player, one of the things the balance player can do is cut off passing lanes or be waiting in that passing lane so that if he tries to get rid of the ball and get out of this 2v1, that we're ready to either intercept the ball or become a pressure player again and apply immediate pressure and start over again with pressure cover trying to win the ball. Okay, everybody agree with that answer? Everybody good with that? Okay, so back into the chat, everybody. How many balance players, if you're playing 11v11, you got a pressure player and a cover player, how many players are on balance? Two, one or two, couple? Keep going. Well, answer up, everybody. Take a stab at it. 3, okay. I see 3, I see 2, 1, 2, 8. Okay, let's hold right there. Jake, let's go with Sonnen. Sonnen, you said 8. Why 8? And I'll give you, I'm totally down with that answer. Go ahead. Why 8?
I took out the keeper because like he's in the goal.
Fair enough. He's got
And-
other work to do, yeah.
Yeah. There's 10 other players on the field. And if we take 2 of them out, there's still like 8 balanced players.
Fantastic. Okay. I know not everybody's got their camera on, but everybody give Sonnen a big hand right now. Okay. He killed it right there. Fantastic, right? Okay. Everyone else needs to be working on balance right there to some degree, right? You got to balance everything else that can happen on the football while our other 2 players are applying pressure and cover. Where else can they go with the ball? Where might they change the point of attack? And how can we be ready to shift the defense to react to that? So everybody becomes a balance player at that point. Now, there are some that have more responsibilities than others. So number 1 here, he's got a really critical responsibility. He sees this guy. He sees that number 10 right there. He sees him running at him. He's super dangerous. He's facing goal. He's got all kinds of space. Yeah, that's a really important balance work. But imagine also maybe there's another player, maybe a left back or a number 11 sitting off here to the left that's covering like the big wide ball. Maybe we know that this guy's got a big foot and we're trying to watch a big switch all the way over to the other side of the field. So that's what our balance players are doing. So another question on balance, getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I'm going to ask it now. If you're not doing pressure, take the goalkeeper out of the equation. Okay, so I already get to that. If you're not doing pressure, you're not doing cover, and you're not doing balance, what's that 4th thing you might be doing at this moment? What's a 4th thing you might do right here? Enzo, go ahead.
Could be tracking back to support.
Checking support. Okay, but that's kind of what balance is, right? Let's think a little bit bigger now. Think a little bit bigger in the context of the game and why we're defending. What else might you be doing, Luke?
You can get open wide so you're ready for us to win the ball back. And attack.
Yes. You're getting ready to counterattack, right? So let's think that, that player beats player number 3, but it's a bad touch. And we see player 2 moving in there. We know in about 2 seconds, we're going to be back in possession of the ball. Maybe your moment, right? Or because you've been watching how players are playing against each other as the match progresses, because that's our job, right? We're advanced players. That's what we do. We know, you know what? We're probably going to win the ball right there. Looking at it, we're going to win the ball. I'm going to get in a position where I can support the counterattack. All right, so Luke, you killed it. Big hand for Luke. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to talk about that at the very end, so keep that in mind as we go. Okay, so everybody got it. Pressure, cover, bounce. All right, so now we've got our group. Now let's talk about the overall team shape. We talked individual, we talked group. Now let's move to what the team does. So these are the 5 things that the team can do. We're in U.S. soccer. These are the 5 things the team does when we're defending, right? We get in our defensive shape. It's our formation, what we look like with respect to each other. We put pressure on the ball. We've been talking about that. We recover when pressure's broken, right? So if they get past us, we just keep recovering back so that we can get back into that defensive shape. Luke talked to us a little bit about how we can get ready to counterattack, right? We anticipate the counterattack coming. And then if they happen to get close enough to goal to where they can shoot or combine into the penalty area or in dangerous positions toward goal, we now change our defensive techniques to stopping that, right? How we block shots, how we get in front of the ball, all the things we have to do to stop the last shot or the last pass. Okay. So today we're really going to talk about just two of these, which is we're going to talk about what our formation looks like, where we are positionally with respect to each other when we're on the defense, and then how we react when we think that we might be getting ready to counterattack. Okay, so if you look at the picture right here, this is U.S. versus Germany just a couple of months ago. U.S. is in blue. So in the chat, tell me what formation we're playing in. What formation is the U.S. in? Team blue. (4-3-3). Right. Everybody knows the U.S. men's national team plays a 4-3-3. Does this look like a pretty solid 4-3-3 to everybody? Pretty much? Okay, so if you would, please, someone raise your hand. Talk to me about the positioning of our 4 and our 5 right here playing in the center back. Talk to me about those positions. What do you think about where they are and what they're doing at this moment? And here's the ball right here. Anybody, go ahead and raise your hand. Give me a Zoom raise there, somebody, or I'm just going to call on you. Jake, go ahead. This is your spot. This is one of your spots. So what do you think about what the 4 and the 5 are doing right there?
The 4 and the 5, they're like the two backs, right?
Center backs. Yeah, they're our center backs. Yep.
They're center backs. All right. I mean, right now they're kind of flat. I'm
They
not
are
gonna lie.
flat. Okay. What
But
else?
like, I'm pretty sure that's all right because like the ball's right there, and it's like
Okay.
so.
George, talk to me about the 4 and the 5 in relation to where the opponents are at this moment.
So the positioning is like they're cutting off the offside, they're keeping someone offside, and if the
Okay.
ball gets played in the like into the 18, they're ready to step.
Okay. So you like where they're at?
I kind of do.
Okay. All right. Talk to me about the outside back, somebody. Ahmed, go ahead. Talk to me about the outside backs. This player right here, the 3, and this player right here, the 2. What are they doing?
The 2 is pressing the ball, and I think the
Keep on
3 is
pressure,
keeping.
right?
I think the 3 is keeping an eye on the right winger.
Right. He's
Just
watching
in
this
case
player
he-
right here. So what is that called? Which of those 3 things is he doing in the group that we just talked about? Pressure, cover, balance. What is the 3 doing right here?
Balance.
Balance. He's a balance player, right? He's watching if the point of attack changes, either by a switch back this way or a long direct ball into the box. He's looking for a change in the point of attack. Ahmed, what do you think about where he's at right now?
Which one? The
Number 3
3?
or the 3. Yeah, what do you think about where the 3 is?
I'd say he's. I'm not sure, but maybe he's like a bit too close to the ball since the right winger's behind him, and it's gonna be difficult for him to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I'm down with that. All right, next national team coach right there, man. You see it. He's flat-footed facing the ball, and this guy is getting ready to run. And the player over here is teeing the ball up. I don't actually know how this clip ends, but it doesn't look good right here if he gets on the end of that, right?
Yeah.
Where would we like him to be as a
Probably
balance player?
facing the right winger, the 7, facing him, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Or backed up a little bit, right?
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Somebody else, who is the cover player for the 2 right now? Here's the 2. He's the pressure player. Who's his cover player? Lucas, are you on yet? Can you talk? Take a stab at it.
I'm guessing 6.
The 6. Okay, so here's here's our right
Yeah.
midfielder, center midfielder, and left midfielder at this moment, right? We don't know which one's the 6. I mean, this is probably the 6, but
Or the one next to the
this fella right here in front of the official.
yeah, the one next to the referee because he's
Okay,
close.
where's he trying to get?
He's trying to get back to get them.
Yeah, he's trying to drop into that cover position, right? So you got a 2v2 right here. And we got a player trying to get, moving it to try to get into a cover position. And then we got another player dropping in here, right? So these are the things we're talking about when we talk about defensive shape, right? Where are we in relation to that? So are center backs in the center right now? Enzo, are the center backs in the center?
Yeah.
Who agrees? Okay, yes or no's in the chat. Are the center backs in the center? Ron, go ahead and mic on if you can. So what are you okay with them being where they're at? Why are they there? Okay.
Because the play is on the right.
Yeah, that's where they're attacking from, right? That's where the opponents are heavier right now. They're going to play that 2v2, but that's what the balance players are for, right? So we're making a good decision there about how that works. Okay, so now let's look at that with our own setup. So in the chat, you got the left formation and the right formation, both facing upfield, right? We're looking at it from the back. Which one of these is a good defensive shape or a better defensive shape? The left one or the right one? Jump in the chat. Right. Okay, so everybody thinks right. Okay, so Adrian, why the right? What do you like about the right?
The right side is better because the defensive structure is more compact. And that's what you want when you're defending, because you give a bit more space on the touch lines, but it's okay because the goal's in the middle anyway. So you want to be more compact.
That was well put. That was very well put, right? The goal's in the middle, right? The ball's got to come back to the center eventually. So we stay compact in the middle, and the further back toward goal we get, the more compact we become, right? Fantastic, Adrian. Thank you. Okay, so when we're making the team compact, right? You hear us talking, coaches are going to talk to you all the time about your width, right? Get wide, get tight. And most of the time, we're talking about in the horizontal, our width, right? Get wide on the attack, right? Get compact on defense. Let's talk for a minute now about the vertical, right? The height of the team, the distance between the last defender, which is our defensive line, usually a center back, and our front line, which is usually the number 9 all the way up at the top. So someone talked to me about why it's important for us to be compact in height vertically on the defense as well as horizontally. Bruno, go ahead.
Because if like the strikers are all the way up, like behind the halfway line, they'd be offside to get the ball back. And the other team is gonna have an advantage by numbers.
Okay.
And the midfield is also too high up. The other team's midfield, if they're fast enough, they can get ahead of them. So then it would be attack and midfield versus just the defense. So it'd be harder on the defense.
So there's space between where attacking players are and defending players are.
Well, no, you want to be.
We don't, and we don't want that space, right?
Yeah, you want to be.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Julian, are you able to chat? Are you able to talk?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if let's say our number 9 and one of our wing players is trying to win a ball in the other penalty area, way forward, right? They're up trying to win a deep ball. In that moment, where do you expect to see our center backs, our defensive line?
They should be at the halfway, all the way pressed up.
Right, maybe about halfway. Okay, I'm down with that. So if they're not halfway, if they're further back, what happens to our formation? Keep going, Julian.
It kind of gets spaced out and gaps and holes are created for the other team to exploit.
Right. So we call that players getting in between our lines, right? So between the forwards and the midfielders and between the midfielders and our defenders, space opens up. So if we're not compact in height vertically on the field as well as horizontally, opposing players can get in between those lines, receive the ball, and have enough space to turn. And if they can turn, now they can play to somebody in the next space because we're not compact, right? It's okay for, to try to play around to try to get us into small spaces, but we don't want is us opening way up, and now we got all these spaces where defenders can kind of run in there and receive the ball, right? That's a bad day. Okay, everybody down with that? Okay, so all this to say, we have attacking distances and we have defending distances. We have to mind what those distances are, both in width and in height. Don't forget about height. That means all you number 9s and 10s out there, that means you need to be trotting back like reindeer, right? Prancing back. Just try to get back and help us win the ball while at the same time being ready to spring out to get in counterattacking positions. You have to do both. All right. So let's talk about a couple of specific scenarios. We'll just kind of talk. So we're going to talk about what options are. So in this particular moment, right, here's our nice, tight, compact defensive shape. This is a 9v9 formation. So there's 8 field players and a goalkeeper. And the center back, the number 4, finds a wing player, opposing wing player over here. There's 7. And he just takes off and runs right down the line and tries to penetrate into our left corner, right? So what I'd like you to do is pick a player. I'm going to raise your hand, pick a player by number, and tell me what you think that player might do in that particular moment. Anyway, okay, Luke, let's start with you. What player?
Number 2.
The number 2. What's the 2 going to do?
So the 2 can drop back into the left a little bit, but not fully in line with what that run is going to be, to serve as sort of a pressure if necessary if they beat the 11, but more of a cover.
Okay, so you like the 2 in a cover position if the moment calls for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm down with that. Sinjin, what do you got? Pick another player.
Like the 10 will try to either drop back or he will go and mark number 8.
Okay, you like the 10 on the 8 to stop that penetrating run and keep him from supporting the run the penetration that just happened, right? Okay, I'm down with that. Okay, let's do one more. Somebody else. Pick another player. Okay, Gavin, I'm calling on you. Gavin, talk to me about the 7, R7, our right winger.
Yeah.
What would you like him to do?
In what scenario? As in, like, the ball's getting passed to him?
Yeah, the ball. Yeah, that number. They're running down the other side. They run into the corner on the opposite side of the field. What do you like our 7 to be doing at this moment?
Checking his shoulders, maybe, to see, like, while he's running, make sure the 11 is not too close to him where he's able to be passed to, maybe.
Yep, do enough, right? Mark the 11, right? Watch the wide player. What role is that in those defensive terms we were just using? What is number 7? What kind of player is he? Pressure, cover, or bounce? Still there, Gav?
Yeah.
Yeah, which one is he? Pressure, cover, or balance?
Pressure.
Pressure's on the other side, right? Ball's on the other side of the field. So
Yeah.
what's our 7?
Balance.
Balance. There you go. Right? We don't want the ball finding the other side of the field and us getting into a 1v1 or something more dangerous on the other side. Great. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at a possible way to look at this. So before I show you a possible way that players might move in this moment, I want you to think about how you make these decisions. Okay. This all happens in about 2 seconds, right? 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds. But what we've got to decide now is we're evaluating not just where the ball is, not just where the opponents are, not just where our players are, but everything players that you've learned about the opponent in the time you've been on the field. So let me ask Mateo. I'm going to put you on the spot for a second, buddy. So Mateo, if the number 7 is fast or slow, does that change how you decide what to do? What everyone else decides what to do?
It could change depending on how fast they are, because if they take a heavy touch and they're able to get to the ball before their pressure player, it could change how the formation becomes.
Right. So it could change how we do the formation. If the number 7 is a super technical player and we've been watching this guy do crazy stuff with the ball for the first 5 minutes of the match, and our 11's getting a little frustrated with him, does that change our decisions on what we do in this moment? Yes or no in the chat. Does it change what we do or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mateo thinks so. He's in that left back position, right? He wants help. Yeah, absolutely it does. So again, players, you've been at this game a long time now, right? It's not just about the formation and the shape. It's about the moment. It's about what you have figured out about that player, right? Is he a left-footed or a right-footed player? Is he a left-footed player who's going to invert and come inside at some point? So I'm not worried, now I'm going to make a different decision about probably who's going to apply pressure or where than if he's a right-footed player, meaning he's probably going to make a run for the corner and try to cross it. Right? Everybody see? So these are the things you got to pay attention to. This is stuff that we as coaches see in the technical area, and we're kind of asking you, like, do you see that? Do you see that? You should be figuring these things out on your own. Don't wait for us to tell you this from the technical area. You have to pay attention. Okay, so let's take a look. All right. So in my vision of the world, right, I had the 2 coming out to apply pressure to the 7. Maybe I knew he was fast and he beat the 11, right? And someone just needs to get out there and stop this dude and keep him from running the line. So in that moment, the 11 has to drop in and become the cover player. So now I have pressure and cover. I've got the 4 staying pretty central, but he's going to start cheating over a little bit just in case something bad happens right here. Right? Someone tell me about the 3, who is the left back. We didn't really talk about him in the previous one. Somebody talk to me about the 3. Go ahead, Bruno.
Like the 3 is important because if he's not there, the 9, if the 7 is a good cross, the 9 could kind of go right through the middle. And if there's nobody except the 4, it might be really hard for the 4.
Right.
It can also help if like the 10 or 11 like start rushing in because the cross is long. 3 can also go back and kind of like clear it or
I got you.
Back.
I got you. So Nico, if you're able to talk where you're at, if the 3 doesn't drop like this, what's going to happen? What happens right here in the middle? What's the matchups? What's the matchup in the middle?
It's basically just like like the number 9 on the red side. He's just
Yeah.
kind of like left alone. He's just like floating in the box alone.
Yeah, he's 1v1 with our center back, right? And we don't want
Yeah.
that, do we?
Nah.
So the 3 does something safe here and drops in so that we got a 2v1 in that moment. Because who's the most dangerous player in the chat? Who's the most dangerous player on the pitch right now? The 9, the 9, the 9, the 9. Okay, yeah. All right. Who thinks that the 7 is also dangerous? Okay. One person does. So does this mean you guys are like super confident in your defenders, right? Like that guy is not a threat. I love the confidence, but if you're the 2 or the 11, the 7 is super dangerous to you, right? So we can have multiple dangerous players depending on where you are on the pitch. But if you're a center back, yeah, the number 9 is way more dangerous than say the 10 or the 8, right? So great. We're going to talk about okay, so someone found it. Oh, bonus. Victor, you got me. Okay, so Victor, go ahead and pipe in. Pipe in. I got you, coach.
Hey, coach.
Yeah.
So I think I think the boys are right. 9 looks very dangerous, but look at where 9 is. He's in between 4 players. I'd say that the 11 is perhaps the most dangerous because if you look at the body position of, well, you can't tell in this photo, but the 7, what are they looking at? The 3, what are they looking at? They're looking at the ball. Or maybe the 7 is looking at the 10, the 3 is looking at the 9, maybe the 3 is looking at the 10, but who's looking at the 11? And what is the body position? So unless somebody has eyes on the back of their head, if I'm the 7, I'm putting that far post. And in that position where he is, he's also great because he can either run onto it, or when the defender flicks it out too wide, he's there to serve it right back in.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, sit on that moment, right? So we're gonna do something else, and I'm gonna need you to bring that point back up again, or better yet, another player, right? Talk about the 11. Okay. So everybody sit on that for a moment. Thanks, Coach. You got it. Okay, so let's move. Everybody good with this? Okay, so now let's move to something a little more dangerous. Okay, here we are back in our defensive shape. Okay, 7 got a little out of place. This is the 7 right here. Sorry about the duplication. Okay, so in this moment, the outside back completes successfully, penetrates on a pass to the 10. Their 10 turns and dribbles and runs right at our 3 in between these 2 players. He's running right here. He just goes for it. So, again, raise your hands, pick a player, and tell me what they should be doing. George, you got it. George, you have to take the 3. Okay, come on.
So of course 3 has to press with 4 covering it.
Okay, so you like the 3 as the pressure player?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's build on that. 3's applying pressure. Someone else grab another player. What are they doing? Go ahead, Sonnen. Got you.
I'm not sure, but like on the right side, 11 or 7 should be covering the run on the other team 11 is making.
Yep.
Because if 10 makes a pass, like a through ball to the 11 on the other team, he can get a cross in.
Yeah, you're with me. You're right on. Okay, so you're building on what Coach Victor pointed out on the previous one, right? Is the 9 as dangerous as the 11 in this picture right here? To the chat, yes or no? Who's more dangerous, the 9 or the 11? 11, 9, 11, 11. Okay, we got a little bit of a mix, both, right? They're both dangerous, right? But look at the marks, right? So in this moment, the 9's really got, he could be 3v1 if we played this right. But man, if this ball squeaks out here to the 11 and he gets in behind our outside back and runs at the post, this is a bad day, right? So we have to be really cautious of that. I love the awareness, Sonnen, that you see like, okay, maybe he's not dangerous at this particular second, But if he takes about one more step, 5 more steps and runs and increases speed, now he becomes super dangerous, right? So recognizing where those runs are coming from is really critical, particularly for our midfield players. You might have to mark those runs from the midfield into the defensive line. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, so again, still dangerous. Hopefully our 7 does a little better and cuts his passing lane off. But this is a really critical run right here. You can see it as everybody drops in. Like we can neutralize the 9, but still not liking what's happened there. So let's talk about what the 2 is doing right there. Someone talk to me about the 2, the other back. Anybody? Do I have Dennis on? Dennis? Denis? Are you able to talk? You want to take a stab at this? Do you like what the 2's doing right there? Do you not like it? It's okay not to like it. Enzo, go ahead. Take a stab at this. What do you think about the 2's? What do you think about what the 2's doing right there?
I think that the 2 is, it's good that he's man marking, but I feel like that since the 4 is behind and the 9 isn't offsides, that the 2 should be behind the 9 a little bit, like kind of like more diagonal and like put him outside instead of giving him basically just a 1v1 with the 4 and the keeper.
Okay, so you would prefer like an inside run,
yeah,
to get goal side and force a pass that would take that player wider.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm down with that. That's a good thought. That's a good thought. And what's our 4's job right now? What's the 4 doing right now? Pressure, cover, balance. What's the 4 doing? Keep going, Enzo. What's the 4 doing?
He's a cover player.
Cover. He's the cover player, right?
Yeah.
We want to keep that player as free as we can. So everyone else has got to do, and so the 2's a balanced player, right? He's just super close to everybody else, but he's still doing balanced work, right? He's in a position to stop changes in the point of attack, right? So thanks for picking that up. Okay. Everybody down with that? Fantastic. Okay, so last piece, players, before we move on out of here, let's talk. Don't forget these 3 things, right? This little piece of analysis right here. This is what we do every second of the match when we're defending. Every moment you're thinking about these 3 things. If you're the pressure player, I'm not counting that because you know what your job is, right? You pressure the closest player. But you have to evaluate the moment. Who's the most dangerous player on the pitch or in my part of the pitch right now? Who is marking the center? Because I can't remember who pointed it out at the beginning, who it was I called on, and very astutely said the ball's got to come back to the middle eventually in order for it to go in the net. That's just physics. Who is mining the center? And lastly, who is the cover player? Because without the cover player, we've left the pressure player in a 1v1. So players, we're always thinking about these 3 things at every second of the game when we're defending. These 3 things. Okay? Screenshot it, take a quick look. We'll send it back out to you. Write it on your hand, whatever you got to do. Okay, now let's talk here, last minute here, about anticipating the counter. So what are a couple things that everyone except the 2 and 11, right? The 2 and 11 are pressure and cover. What can everyone else be ready to do to anticipate and support the counterattack if the 2 wins the ball? Or say if the 2 wins the ball. So let's say we see that situation happening. We're positive the 2 is going to win. Like that opposing winger took a bad touch. We know in the next second and a half, our 2 is going to be in possession of the ball. What are some things we can do? Sonnen, you're first.
We can have more players running up the field.
We go up the field. We get height. Okay, George.
Move in order to receive and take a good touch.
Right. Move to where you can receive a pass. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
From that player. Great. Okay. So you got 2 of the 3. Okay, Luke, go ahead.
7 can open up wide so they can play and look to open the field.
There you go. Okay, you guys got all 3. Fantastic. Okay, here we go. Here are the 3 things. You create passing options. This is what George pointed out. How do we help the 2 get out of that 1v1 he was just in and get the ball moving forward again? Because he's going to win the ball, but that guy's still there. He's still in that 1v1. How do we get a pass, so that he can free himself from that pressure instead of him having to play out of that pressure in the 1v1? Second, Luke's point, get between the lines. Find a place where you can find space to receive a ball. Because which ball are we always going to try to hit when we're coming out of the back? Somebody. What's the one pass we're always going to try to hit? Jake, go. I see your hand motion. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
We're trying to hit a long ball to our number 9.
The highest long ball we can get, which is that look in for runs and behind. So here's what we would look like, right? Maybe the 11 and the 4 take responsibility, create a triangle, create angles so the 2 can get out of here. We don't make this guy play 1v1 right here to get out of the back. We're still in danger, right? Get him in there, get him out. 10 and the 8, and as Luke pointed out, maybe even the 7, find space between their lines now, right? So that you can receive a medium distance pass so we can turn and keep running. And then our 9 stretches us because now we're about to go on the attack. Can we get in behind that last player there, staying on side, maybe even far enough that we can run on the 4? At the worst, we get the ball high. We take as much space as we can on the dribble, and then we hold up and we wait for the team to join us. So, again, players, evaluate the moment. Anticipate what's going to happen. What's the most dangerous thing that's going to happen right now? What's the most likely thing that's going to happen right now? And maybe in that moment, because you've been watching what's going on in that left corner for the last 10 minutes, who's that, Griff over there? Griff's going to win that ball. You just know it. That guy took a bad touch. He's going to be on the ball. What am I going to do? How do I get the team on the counterattack as quickly as I can? Okay, thumbs up. Everybody's good with that? Everybody's got it? Fantastic. Okay, and that's it, everybody. Give yourselves a hand. Great job tonight. Hope everybody got something out of that. A couple of reminders for when we come back in person again. Of course, be on time for training and start warming up as soon as you get there. Do that as quickly as possible. Players, make sure we're dressing for the weather. It is colder than it was when the last time we met. So gloves, hats, and please dress in layers so that you can take stuff off as you get warmed up and get into the session, but then you can start putting things back on as things start slowing down and afterwards. And also, I don't know if we're going to be back Wednesday. I sure hope we are, but if we're not, keep up your stuff at home. I don't expect you to be practicing long ball counterattacks in your living rooms, but by all means, get your foot on a ball and just move the ball. Get your foot used to doing things with the ball, whether that's in a tiny little space between the couch and the coffee table or your basement, or hell, just go out and hit the snow. But try to get your touches in as best you can. Trust me, even the smallest of touches works if you just take a little bit of time and do it. That's all we have for tonight, coaches. Thanks for joining. Players, thank you very much for your participation. I hope you got something out of this. If you have a couple of additional questions, we'll stay on for a couple of minutes after. If not, we will see the majority of you on Wednesday night or whenever our paths cross again. Have a great night, everybody.